Hey guys, what's up? This is Andy with Fernandina Landscape Design. We're in Fernandina Beach on Crane Island, and I wanted to walk you through one of the coolest jobs that we've ever installed and show you what kind of plants we use and why, and just kind of show off a little bit. Come on, I'll show you. So this beautiful house here is awesome. As you can tell, we have these really beautiful oak trees, and it's on a little island here, which is a natural setting. Lots of palm trees and really cool native plants, so we wanted to complement the existing landscape and the beauty of the natural area that's here, and we wanted to show off this beautiful home as well. So looking at the house, we wanted to be able to kind of show off the front door. We didn't want to obstruct that view. We just wanted to kind of frame that view and have a nice picture frame. So some of the different plants we used are actually really low maintenance plants. We have all this little liriope here. This is kind of a shady area. I'll move this out of the way so you can see. But this is a very shady area, and to make this shady area low maintenance, we have a bunch of liriope here, which, you know, in the shade you can't really grow grass in the typical sense, you know, like a lawn, a St. Augustine lawn or Bermuda or anything like that. But you can have a nice lush grassy look by using liriope and mondo grass. So we used a lot of that on this plan. And then we have these really cool plants kind of popping out of the liriope that have different textures. One of those plants that I get asked about most often is this plant here. It's called Farfugium. It's also called the leopard plant or a tractor seat plant. And it actually has these really awesome yellow flowers that come out of it that don't look like they would belong to something with this leaf, but these are a really cold hardy plant that gives you a really tropical look, and just super low maintenance. They're really great. Another plant that I really love is a tree fern. We have 3 of them in here, and just kind of comes up, looks really elegant. You can see the wind is blowing, and they give some nice movement in the garden as well. Another plant that we have is this giant leaf begonia here with these beautiful white flowers. Kind of gives a similar effect as the Farfugium does, and nice little pop of color. Something that we did here is we used these Bora Bora Mexican beach pebbles that complement this beautiful brick work that we have on the driveway. And the functionality behind it is to retain the dirt and the mulch from washing out over the driveway when it's stormy or windy or when people are blowing. Just kind of takes it to the next level and polishes things up a bit. Under these oaks here, we have, these are called Kimberly fern. It's not the Boston fern, but it gives a really nice kind of woodland look, and that color green just really pops. So you don't see a lot of crazy pinks and all of that, but you do see a lot of different kinds of textures and different shades of green, which is really pretty. This is liriope. It's not always blooming. We don't plant it for the blooms, but it is kind of nice to be able to show off what those blooms look like. A lot of people don't realize that. These do give you a nice purple color in the landscape. One more thing I want to show you over here before we move on to the rest of the yard is some of the mahonias that we've got. So we have 3 different kinds of mahonias. They kind of go along really well with a fern garden or a tropical palm garden. They're very cold hardy. And I don't remember all the names of these actually. I think one was Soft Caress, one was Beijing Beauty, and one of them was something else. I forget. I just love mahonias. They add a nice texture to it. They have these really beautiful flowers as well. They have these yellow flowers, but they actually start off as these blue berries, and it looks really cool. And like I said, it just gives you a nice little ferny effect and kind of makes this little side yard really interesting looking. This is the other variety, and they're just so cool. They look kind of prehistoric. These are some really interesting ferns as well. These are called bird nest ferns, and they're not great for every landscape in Northeast Florida, but this is facing the south and we are on an island, so it's coastal and kind of a microclimate underneath these oaks. It's kind of in a double microclimate because it's under this palm tree as well. So when we get those hard frosts, they get trapped up there and all the hot air gets stuck under here and keeps these really tropical plants healthy. As you can see, you can also pop them into oak trees and they can be more epiphytic like an air plant would be. So that's just kind of cool. So come on up here, I'll show you guys some of the different things that we have going on. This is called dwarf mondo grass, and again you can see here how we have you know, these bromeliads with the different kind of texture pop that it has. It's really a nice look. The liriope with the mondo grass gives it nice cascading effects and gives you lots of different kinds of layers in the landscape, which makes a small yard feel a lot bigger when everything is clean and layered. And just super low maintenance. All this really does a great job of choking out the weeds. Let me show you something really cool about this job. There's actually almost every type of native Florida palm that you can use in Northeast Florida on this job. So come over here, I'll show you. So this is the sable palm. We didn't plant that, but we did plant probably about 30 something of those on this job. I'll show you. This is a native palm called a needle palm. It's the most cold hardy palm in the world. It's really beautiful and elegant. Kind of looks like a lady palm, except it's kind of like a dwarf variety. Bushy, it's slow growing, super low maintenance, does great in the sun or the shade or wet or dry. We've talked about that a lot. And then behind that is, this is called a sable minor, and it actually has a bee flying around it now. And it's blooming right now, which is really beautiful. It has these really pretty white flowers on it. And it kind of looks like a sable palm, but just it never really grows a trunk, so it stays low. We have our sable palms again here, and then we have these beautiful Kunti palms, which are native to Florida, and it's a type of cycad, and they're just very versatile as well. So all of these native Florida palms work in almost every environment that you can think of here in Florida. Now up here we have lots of blue. You can see a lot of color once we start to get to the front door. I like to add a lot of color. It kind of draws your eye where you're supposed to go. We've got begonias mixed in, which are starting to pop up and grow out. And then we also have, as foundation plants, a lot of really mature camellias. These are camellias that are great for full sun or shade. These are called Sasanqua camellias. We've got a few different kinds, but they're all white. Got these two beautiful Canary Island date palms right here that are matching. It was kind of a trick to get them over the house and get those planted. Beneath that, as a backdrop, we have the wax myrtles that are going to grow up and completely screen that house. Those are a native Florida shrub that gives you a really nice, dense evergreen privacy. And then in the lower level, we have more of those sable minors that I was talking about. This is a really neat area here. This is one of the other native Florida palms. I was telling you we have almost every Florida native palm on this job that you can use in Northeast Florida. This is called an Everglades palm. It's actually blooming up there, and this is also called an Everglades palm. Or sorry, maybe I said that, a Perotis palm. They grow out of the water down in South Florida, and you see them a lot of times around waterways and stuff. A lot of people will like to trim up the bottom to kind of expose those trunks. We haven't done that yet on these, but maybe we will. So they're just a really awesome palm, and they are a little bit sensitive to cold weather, but like I said, because we're on an island here, we're able to get away with it. We actually had a really rough winter this year, and these ones did just fine. And the reason why is because they're in this microclimate environment where they're in the corners of the house, so all the heat that the house puts off keeps them protected from the frost. So they got zero frost damage, where if you would plant them further inshore or somewhere like in the middle of the driveway, they would have took a lot more damage. So I'll show you one more plant here that's really neat. This is called Cephalotaxis, and it's a really beautiful low-growing shrub that you don't have to trim a lot, and it just gives you kind of, again, that ferny, natural look. I like to use plants that don't look like, you know, just random shapes that are stuck in time. I like to use things that are low maintenance, that look natural, and grow maturely to the size that you ideally want them to be for the space. So this is a really great plant. It does a great job to outcompete the weeds in this little area, and it just shows off the front of this house so cool. So the customer's really happy with it. I'm super happy with it. Let me show you the rest of the yard. Hey Connie, we're good. We're making a little Facebook video of the yard real quick. I'll see you in a second. So this plant right here, this is called a black magic elephant ear. They're really great. These took a little bit of wind damage on the way here, so it's kind of sad to see. But they're really awesome. They'll get about this tall, big, dramatic purple, and they come back every year. They may disappear in the wintertime if it gets really cold, and they pop back up in the spring. But just a nice little accent into the yard. Then we have these beautiful bluestone stepping stones that kind of lead you to the back with the dwarf mondo grass kind of framing this walkway. Got these nice sugar palms that we're putting in right now. These are the cold hardy sugar palms. There's two different kinds. There's the tremulas and the angulares. If you're ever doing sugar palms, make sure you get the angulares because these ones are going to be the ones that are more cold tolerant. Come on back and we'll walk through the rest. So all these sable palms that you see up here, we installed on this job. They go all the way down. We have the wax myrtles kind of as a nice hedge and backdrop, giving you privacy between the houses. And then just look how cool this farfugium looks with all this mondo grass. It just looks amazing. Zero maintenance and just looks awesome. Then we have this Confederate jasmine, which smells amazing, growing up the lattice. I love when the wind blows, you can kind of hear the palms rustling. It's a nice effect. Then as we come back here, there's a lot of mature, beautiful trees back here. We just wanted to highlight those. So we shaped these organically shaped beds to complement and work around the existing trees and canopy that's here. We carried the landscape from the back, all that Liriope and Mondo and camellias and the same kind of plant palette back here. And it just created this really beautiful, peaceful place that doesn't obstruct the view of the river and the water from the house. And I just love this this giant oak tree over here. This big piece of driftwood looks so cool. Come over here, I'll show you a little pop of color we did by the water. So I'll show you some of these different plants that we have. We have a couple different kinds of salvias. She loves purples and yellows, so we have different varieties of purple salvia, and we have lavender here. One of the coolest plants that we have is this little pop of silverish white. This is called Platinum Beauty Lamandra, and I've talked about it a few times with you guys. It's a really bulletproof plant. It can do sun, shade, it can handle the salt, it can handle the dry or the damp soil. It's just beautiful all the time. Those are the kinds of plants we like to use on our jobs. We have Thrialis here, which is this little golden bush, little pops of yellow. And then this is a really cool plant too. This is called porterweed, and it's a native Florida plant that does really well in damp soils or sunny soils and has really pretty purple flowers. So this is a really awesome staple to use in any Northeast Florida landscape. They do die back in the winter, but then they come back every year. Let's see, I think, see if there's anything else I can show you guys. Look how pretty this is here. We have the yellow dune sunflowers, all those pretty pops of purples. The bees just love it here. It's a pretty magical place to be. No pun intended. We still need to figure out some landscaping solutions around here. I guess the last plant that I'll show you is this one here. This is called a Fatsia japonica. It's a really great plant for shady areas, super cold tolerant, and gives you that really tropical type of touch. So, you know, not a bunch of crazy pinks and like not a ton of color, but lots of different textures that are evergreen and just always give year-round interest. So, I guess that concludes our tour of this job. I'll go ahead and just take a nap and sign out, but I'll see you guys later.